Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Trolls World Tour. Trolls World Tour is the sequel to the Dreamworks animated film Trolls, in which the newly crowned Queen Poppy sets out with her best friend Branch to discover that there are more troll villages than they had ever imagined, each equipped with their own genre of musical speciality. But all of this comes as Queen Barb of the Rock Trolls attempts to hunt down and take over all of Troll Kingdom to make it united under rock. So I thought the first Trolls movie, it was okay. I had a lot of problems, particularly with messaging, actually, when it came to the first Trolls movie. And just kind of the overall tone was a bit much. And I'm sure that lent itself for me not being all that excited for the Trolls sequel. Then I got that trailer and was like, what in the world is this? But I went ahead, I rented the film here on video on demand. It is somewhat the first of its kind, being released straight to on demand services in lieu of theaters being closed. And I have to say, I enjoyed this more than I had anticipated, and dare I say, I think I like it more than the first. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives. Well, the messaging this time around is the positive because it undoes all of the horrible messaging the first film laid out. We see our characters are still stuck in that mindset of the first film and where we left off about everybody needs to be happy and everybody needs to be joyous. But as we go through and as we evolve, our characters also begin to evolve, and the overall message begins to take form in the sense that our differences are what make us, differences are a positive, and living in harmony with our differences what makes a society stronger, whether that be through musical genres and tastes or actual society. The animation is also really beautiful in this film. One thing I enjoyed was that the techno trolls particularly had their own completely different animation style that really fit the style of music. But as we go through all of these different worlds, it was great to see the animation transform to what it needed to be for that new setting. But it looked beautiful. It was top notch. It is DreamWorks. So what else could you expect but beautiful animation? Something unexpected that I really love that they plugged into this film was a history lesson. Once we reach the funk trolls, I mean, they basically give an actual history lesson to the pop trolls about being a culture vulture, period. And it obviously extends to just history, and not only United States history, but world history and musical history. As we know, pop music has heavily, heavily taken from other genres of music throughout time. They laid it down pretty well in the short little rap lesson we get. But specifically, white artists, especially through the 50s, the 60s, the 40s, quite literally stole music from black artists, released it as their own, and crushed black artists' careers throughout a great portion of history. It was actually quite nice to see that being played out in the film. Of course, it is the quote unquote black trolls educating the white trolls on what kind of atrocities they had done to the culture throughout. So art reflects life, I guess. But it was still an unexpected surprise to have that moment and something a lot deeper than I had imagined going into the film. And in general, I think just the messaging, what was being said throughout this movie was a lot deeper than the first film, and I think the writing was actually quite good here and really worked well, both as a literal music bringing people together and diversity of music being a great thing and let people like what they like, but also a metaphor for society and the differences within people. Not to mention, I love that country song that they sing. The introduction to the country land, I loved. And I like that the movie isn't afraid to get weird. So while I appreciate that they went there, they went to very out there situations. Ugh, that's also going to lead us into the negatives and what Trolls World Tour didn't quite get right. Well, the weird stuff mostly was a miss for me, if I'm being honest. Particularly the opening with this cloud was just terrible. I don't know, it was not for me. And I know he's back from Trolls, but it did not. No, 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 no. And honestly, that first act is by far the worst act because we are basically just piecemealing together a music video montage. Like the little baby troll that you see, the little tiny diamond hip hop troll that bursts out of the head of a different troll. Oh my gosh, his intro is insane and it is literally a music video. But I was real concerned when this thing started off that not only would it be a jukebox musical, which you expect if you've seen the first one, but that it would literally just be a music video mashup with very little else to offer. So the first act, by far the weakest act in the film. I do also think it is on like hyperdrive overload, like be happy, and it was a bit much for me. The energy level on this film is cranked to 10 throughout. Even as we're learning our lessons, it's just like cranked up. And I think they made Poppy a insufferable character in this movie. She has a big arc and a big lesson to learn here, but she just continues on in this really just insufferable manner the entire time, with her attitude, with how she is towards the other trolls, with her persistence, and I mean with her basically failing as a queen. A bit frustrating to be around her for this entire film. She was too much, and I think they pushed that whole narrative on Poppy a bit too far. Also, I wish we had seen more of the rock trolls fighting or like doing battle with the other types of music as we go through. We get a couple of those like battle moments and then they kind of just drop off. One instance particularly is the country music trolls. They seem to be really feisty, really able to like throw down and fight, ready for action, but we never get to see them being like taken over by the rock trolls. And I wish we would have seen every instance of that more than it just being told to us that it happened. We're given like one little intro to every single world, and that's it. That's all we really get from those musical lands. Plus, when we learned the location of the funk trolls, it was quite confusing to me. I didn't understand it, and again, with them being kind of the black trolls, it was possibly problematic. It was very strange, and I don't understand why they did it. But overall, I think Trolls World Tour was a fun enough film. It has a pretty basic plot and it will shove happiness right into your face. Grab an extra bowl of sugar and shove some more in as you watch through this film. But there are some chuckles. I think your kids will have a lot of fun with it. It is colorful, it is vibrant, there are lots of songs, and maybe, just maybe, with some of these musical choices, some music that you'll get to introduce and bond with your kids over once they hear it in this film. I also think it offers some good talking points with children about diversity and being different and how that makes the world a better place. And as I said, I much prefer this message of the second film to that of the first. However, I just don't think it's quite good enough to pay $20 to rent, though. So I would wait for this to come to a normal priced rental. That's when you and your family will feel like money well spent and have a great time watching it. So hold off until it comes to Redbox or drops down to that normal VOD rental price. But when you do rent it, there is a mid-credit sequence, not an after credits, so you don't have to wait all the way to the very end. But in the middle of the credits, we're reintroduced to characters that seemingly were forgot about when making this sequel to the first film. So that is my review of Trolls World Tour. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like, down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Trolls World Tour, or did you also rent it? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!